Hey everybody, Perth Butcher Shop, Colby here, and today we're going to be breaking down a pig from Perth Pork Products in Seagreenville, Ontario. We're breaking it down, hanging from a rail. So the idea here is just to section the pig from the ham or the leg, the loin section, the belly, shoulder, and also we're going to take off the shank. So the first thing we're going to do is take off the hump here, and you get to know where the joint is just by feel and experience, and you just work your way through there. So once you get the right the seam, then you can just follow and take it right out. Okay, so the next step is separating the shoulder from the rest of the pig. And what you want to do is you want to go on 4 bones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And on beef, this would be the short ribs, and then going forward would be the side ribs. But what you want to do is just go between the 3rd and the 4th. And just like the shank, you're using the knife as much as possible. Give it a nice clean line here. And then you get to a point where you can't cut anymore. So you made a nice clean cut with your knife. You want to get the pin installed once again. I also use this orange handled hook to hook in here so that when I make the final cut, it doesn't fall on the floor. Just like that. There you have it. There's your whole shoulder. If you're looking at the shoulder, we will do another video where we break the whole thing down. But this is your Boston butt, and this is your picnic. So it's divided into 2 pieces, really. Both really good for pulled pork. This is the ideal piece because it's almost one big muscle, whereas this contains a lot of different muscles. But we will get more into that. We'll break this down at another time. Step number 4 is getting the tenderloin out, which is right here. There's a bit of beef fat here, which you want to take out first, and there's a kidney there, which you want to get that out of the way so you can get the tenderloin out. The leaf fat is not really ideal for sausage making, like the back fat here is, or there, but it is really good for rendering down to make pies, or just rendering down for cooking purposes. So I will start with taking the tenderloin out. As you see here, these rib sections curve. It does the same thing when it gets to that short loin part. So you want to angle your knife properly. Get right in there. All the way up to where the sirloin is. Cut it around like that. And there you have it, there's your sirloin. So you can see it a bit better from this angle. Like that's not pretty, and that's not really obvious as to what that is when it's right there. When you flip it over, you get a better look at it. And when you clean it, it's going to be counter ready, so you're really going to see the start to the finished process there, and we'll show you that at some point too. Okay, so now we're on to the part where we're separating the leg from the loin and the midsection. So here's your belly with your side ribs, and we talked about the rib section here and the loin section, but we want to make that division, and where you make that division is right after this curve. There's this one vertebrae here right after the curve, and you want to get right in there and follow that seam straight across. So you get a nice clean cut for your belly where your bacon comes from, and it's also a good part to cut it because there's an H bone here, and it sort of runs all the way from here and turns into like a paddle type shape. You can't really cut that with your knife, so what we do is we separate the leg and we clean that off after. So this is a nice clean cut, and then we get into the more details of the legs after, and we'll show you that at another time as well. So I'm just gonna follow this seam. Now I spin it around here, that I'm just following that. So it's a nice clean, even cut. And this is one of my favorite parts right here. You have to snap it a little bit. When you do, the seam opens up a little bit more, and there's your midsection. So that really is separating most of the pig. We'll take this outside. I don't like to cut this when it's hanging. I find it a bit sloppy, so we'll take it outside, and I'll separate this rib section from the belly section. And there's your ham. Okay, so now we're at the final stages of sectioning the pig. We're separating the belly from the loin. So, right here is actually the skirt steak, and on every animal there's the inside skirt and the outside skirt. We are going to be taking off the side ribs, which just lay right here. We trim off a bit of this skirt here. We like to leave a bit of the meat on, but almost for presentation and just for eating sake, we like to take a bit of it off just so it's not too hanging there. So start with that, and then what you want to do is draw a nice clean line from here to here. And how I know where that line is, I'm looking at this section here, so I know that I'm on the other side of this boneless loin section. And then it goes to here, which is going to be your rib chops, right? So just from experience, I know exactly where to draw that line, and if I look at it, and if I'm double checking my work, I know that that's going to be a nice looking pork chop when it goes to the counter. So again, using the knife as much as possible, following that line. And when you can't cut anymore, with the knife, you're going to use the handsaw. And again, I'm just using this as little as possible just to cut through the ribs. And with that division here, is dividing the side ribs for the back ribs are right here, which are also part of the bone-in pork chops. So what we usually do, we leave the bone on here so we can cut them in pork chops. We also have back ribs that we can harvest out of there as well. So I'm just going to finish this cut. And there you go. There's your midsection or your loin section. Set that aside here. And then here's your belly, the marvelous belly where the bacon comes from. Before you get to the boneless belly, you got to take off these side ribs. It's a very difficult part of butchery because you want to leave enough meat on the belly to have a nice piece of bacon, but you also want enough meat on the side ribs so you have a nice side rib. So it's a fine balance. And it can be tricky sometimes, and especially on one like this where it's a bit of a smaller belly. So I'll see what I can do. And here you just want to make a nice, you just want to keep your knife really straight and just keep following that seam. You get to a point where it's folded over, so then you can just follow the seam and take the rib straight off. So there's your belly. That's going to be going back to Perth Pork, our pork supplier, to be made into bacon. And here's the side ribs. You see, so I did a pretty good job of keeping enough meat on the ribs and still leaving enough meat on the belly. From here you have, this would be the whole thing, if you served it like that, would be your Kansas City style rib. That's good. Like down here is some really nice meat. but there's also a lot of cartilage. People don't always like it. I sort of like it, and sometimes I like that, just eating straight up. Here though, we do the St. Louis style ribs, which is better for presentation because it's a very rectangular shape. So I divide where the cartilage comes up and curves into the hard bone. There's a seam that you can follow, cut right through. And that's your St. Louis side rib. So nice and square, as you can see, and that's how we do it for the counter for the presentation side of things. These are available and they're delicious. Most of the time they go into trim because people are wanting these. They're the best ones you can do. That's about it. So thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.